This is Trade Flow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. Trade Flow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Oil traded mostly flat on Monday after surging last week as investors wait to see if the Israel-Hamas conflict draws in other countries, a development that would potentially drive up prices further and deal a fresh blow to the global economy. Brent futures were last flat at $90.89 per barrel at 0419 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate, WTI, crude was down 2 cents to $87.67 a barrel. Both benchmarks climbed nearly 6% on Friday, posting their highest daily percentage gain since April, as investors priced in the possibility of a wider Middle East conflict.
China's imports of major commodities remained resilient in September and paint a different picture to the market narrative that the world's second-largest economy is struggling for momentum. Imports of crude oil, natural gas, coal and iron ore dropped slightly from August, but all were higher than in September last year. The first 9 months of the year are showing strong growth over the same period in 2022, with crude oil imports up by 14.6%, natural gas by 8.2%, coal by 73.1% and iron ore by 6.7%, according to customs data released on October 13.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
European Union countries' climate ministers meet on Monday to decide the bloc's negotiating position for this year's COP28 summit, but they are still split over some key issues, like how hard to push for a global deal to phase out fossil fuels. The EU is typically one of the most ambitious negotiators at the annual United Nations climate talks, where nearly 200 countries negotiate efforts to fight global warming. This year's COP28 conference begins on November 30 in Dubai. A central decision will be whether countries at the COP agree for the first time to phase out fossil fuels. Burning coal, oil and gas produces greenhouse gases that are the main cause of climate change.
Singapore's marine fuel sales, also known as bunker sales, were steady in September month-on-month as vessel calls and container throughput were little changed, official data showed on Monday. Sales in September totaled 4.26 million metric tons, up 0.2% from prior month and 7.7% higher year-on-year. Latest data from the Maritime and Port Authority, MPA, showed. Bunker sales in Singapore are a key indicator of sentiment at the world's largest ship refueling hub, which is also one of the busiest shipping lanes globally.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Gold slid on Monday, pressured by technical selling, following a fierce 3% rally in the previous session as raging Israel-Hamas war sent investors scuttling to the safe haven bullion and pushed prices above the key $1,900 ceiling. Spot gold fell 0.7% to $1,919.21 per ounce by 0423 GMT, and U.S. gold futures dropped 0.5% to $1,932.70. Gold, which investors view as a safe place to park money during times of economic and geopolitical stress, hit its highest since September 20 at $1,934.82 earlier in the session, after surging 3.4% on Friday in its biggest one-day rise in 7 months.
Midway through the aluminium market's so-called mating season of end users and sellers locking in supply deals, Russian metal is experiencing mixed fortunes, with some European industrial companies avoiding it for 2024. Those opting to swerve Russian aluminium have done so partly due to worries about potentially harming their sales to the United States. Since Russia invaded Ukraine last year, some buyers stopped buying aluminium from Russia's Rusal, the world's largest aluminium producer outside China, even though there are no Western sanctions on Rusal or Russian aluminium. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Indonesia's 2023 rice output is expected to drop by 2.05% to 30.90 million metric tons, as extreme dry weather driven by the El Niño weather pattern affects its harvests, the Statistics Bureau said on Monday. The prediction was based on output data as of August and an estimate for harvests in September to December, according to the Bureau. Prolonged drought caused by El Niño have resulted in planting and harvesting failure. Acting Statistics Bureau Chief Amalia Adeninger Widyasanti told a press conference.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to Trade Flow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at Trade Flow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.